All right, guys, welcome back to episode number 2 of the Town Crier podcast. We really appreciate the feedback we got on the first one. I'm glad that some of you found it interesting or whatever. We've did up our quality, if you didn't notice, and that is why, not since the last episode, I mean since we were recording this years ago. The reason we are calling these episode number 1 and now this is number 2 is because it's just more official. This is more of I like to think it's a show now that we're going to be consistently making, fingers crossed. But, we're taking it a little more serious now, if you didn't notice. So
yeah, if you didn't notice Francisco in the booth there in an actual podcast studio. So
yes, sir. I wish I could show you the whole place. This place is just this massive studio I bought.
Give us a house tour?
Yeah, it's great. I'm not going to dox myself, but yeah, it's pretty dope. So I do want to say this because we put out a promo clip of us talking about the new film by Christopher Nolan, Oppenheimer. And I put out a poll on our Instagram, and I gave 3 options. The question was this, if you did not see it. It was, will Oppenheimer be either strictly historical fiction, or don't care? The majority of people voted don't care, as I did expect. I'm not surprised, but I just want to say, when this movie does come out in the summer, I don't want to hear a lot of you raving about how you're a massive Christopher Nolan fan and all of this, and you saw this coming and all whatever. We don't want to hear it. And then you had that comment.
yeah.
Something about the kitchen?
Oh yeah. If you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Yeah.
All these people who try and, I don't care about Christopher Nolan. Inception was too confusing. Interstellar's too... All the people who just whine and complain, and then the banger of the year comes out. I don't want to hear anything, especially after all those polls that you responded to. Which, shout out polls. There used to be a world-class app back in the day called Polar that no longer exists due to just innovation that was too ahead of its time. But anyways... all of the polls that came out, people were saying, I don't really care. Well, you'll care in about 7 months, something like that, when this thing drops.
Exactly. And I do want to say, for anybody who maybe is like, hey, I'm not really like a big Christopher Nolan fan, let me give you just a reason why maybe just the average person might care about Oppenheimer. Let me just give you the cast right here. We have Cillian Murphy, Emily Blunt, Matt Damon, Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh, Gary Oldman, Josh Hartnett, Jack Quaid, Kenneth Branagh, Rami Malek. Must I go on?
And the most
Casey
important actor,
Affleck.
The most important actor making a comeback in 2023, Josh Peck. Also
Josh
in the film.
Peck. What?
Yeah, anyone age, I would say, I don't know, 33 and younger. Well, yeah. I would say age probably...
33 is probably good.
I would say 33 to 24-ish range knows who Josh Peck is.
Yeah,
probably a little lower. I don't know. He kind of
Drake
had
and Josh
social media a little bit, but
he
hung out with David Dobrik for a while and was kind of involved there. But
he reappeared on social media probably, I don't know, was that 4 or 5 years ago? I don't know.
Yeah. But speaking of Nolan, you have a certain book that just came in the mail, don't you?
Yes, and that was my next. So everybody, I just want to say, I got this in the mail. I ordered this last week. This is called The Science of Interstellar by Kip Thorne, and Josh also ordered the Kindle last night, or just downloaded it last night. So I want to let you know a little bit about this, because this is going to be really exciting going forward for anybody who's not even just a Nolan fan or a fan of Interstellar, but just science and time travel in general. The concepts that you see in Interstellar were actually proven concepts by the scientist Kip Thorne. He's 82 now. He's studied this his entire life. The concept of, what was it? What would you say it exactly is that?
It's time, space, and gravity is the
exactly
is the biggest concepts that people don't fully grasp.
Right. Black holes, wormholes, warped time, and warped space to singularities, quantum gravity, gravitational anomalies, the fifth dimension. Yeah. All that good stuff. So if you're into science, that's great. But for anybody who's actually just wants to know more, this is hopefully going to be putting it in layman terms so that we will actually can explain it and maybe talk about it on the podcast. And 100%. It's gonna. I'm hoping it's gonna be pretty fascinating to a lot of people. Nolan fan or not. So stay tuned.
There's a full res image of the black hole. So the really iconic scene when they keep showing that black hole, and it's like kind of looks like a warped circle with like a line through it, a black line through it in the film. And somebody was saying that to that point was the most scientifically accurate depiction of a black hole if you were within the vicinity of it like they were in the film. So there's like a 4K res version of like from the film, the black hole with I forget what they call what's the craft called, the spacecraft that's that they're in.
Gosh, why am I not? No,
because they take there's TARS, obviously that's the robot, and then they take the ship, whatever, that smaller ship, down to Miller's planet, but they go back up to whatever the
circular
circular one
that holds all the ships, basically.
Yeah, we'll figure out the name. I haven't watched that movie in like a year. I purposely don't watch it.
I should know this. I just watched it 2 weeks ago, but
oh, okay. But so there's an image of that ship in front of the black hole, and it's like gives you goosebumps looking at it if you're a fan of the film or you watch it. But there was it might have been Kip Thorne that was like, hey, this is like one of the closest it's like one of the closest images of what a black hole would look like in this context. Accurate, scientifically accurate. So
exactly.
The book, I'm sure the book will dive deep into it. We just got into it. I'm sure we'll update as we dive further into it. But it's like scientifically and all the physics of it are about as close as it can get.
Yeah,
which you would expect from a Nolan film.
That's why, that's why Interstellar is such a fascinating film. But so anybody who didn't know, it is true. Like the things you see in Interstellar, besides like a few little things that didn't really matter, the concepts you see, I mean, that is true science. It's truly based on like real science that's been proven by mathematics and science. I mean, it all started, I think, with Einstein's theory of gravity, relativity.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you have, so maybe for anybody who thought it was just pure fiction watching Interstellar, maybe you go back and watch it and be like, oh, this is actually real stuff here.
Yeah.
And
that's why there's the classic fact of when they go down to Miller's planet and they land and there's the ticking in the background. Everyone repeats this constantly, but as soon as they land, the score in the background from Hans Zimmer, the GOAT, there's a tick like every 1.5 seconds ish, 1.7 seconds. And that's every hour, every day, every year. I forget what the exact measurement is.
I think it was, I forget what I
think it's every day or every week. I don't know.
Every hour is a day. No, every hour is like 10,
we
7
can look
years.
It up. I'll look it up.
Oh, no, yeah.
Live.
I think it's every hour is 7 years on Earth. That's crazy. Actually, I actually didn't know that. That's a new one for me.
Hang on, I'll find it.
I'm not surprised.
It's 1 day. It's 1 day. So when you watch the scene, and actually this article references Kip Thorne in here. So when you watch the scene, they go down from where they're docked. As soon as they get into the planet, super high gravity planet, that's where the science comes in with how gravity affects time. And as soon as they land, the score starts to click in, and there's like a tick in the background. It's like very faint. Yep. And each tick is 1 day that passes on Earth. And it's happening like every second. And so that's why when he ends up going back up after however much time, they've been gone for 20-something years. So
Okay. That's pretty cool. I actually didn't realize that. But so just I'm just gonna do this real quick because this is actually the foreword by Christopher Nolan. It's really short, but I haven't read this myself. I actually do want to hear this. I might cut it, but whatever. One of the great pleasures of working on Interstellar. This is Christopher Nolan writing this for the book. This book. One of the great pleasures of working on Interstellar has been getting to know Kip Thorne. His infectious enthusiasm for science was obvious from our first conversation, as was his reluctance to proffer half-formed opinions. His approach to all the narrative challenges that I threw him was always calm, measured, and above all scientific. There you go. In trying to keep me on the path of plausibility, he never showed impatience with my unwillingness to accept things on trust, although my 2-week challenge to his faster-than-light prohibition might have elicited a gentle sigh. He saw his role not as science police, but as a narrative collaborator. Scoring scientific journals I guess scoring scientific journals and academic papers for solutions to corners I'd written myself into. Kip has taught me the defining characteristic of science, its humility in the face of nature's surprises. This attitude allowed him to enjoy the possibilities that speculative fiction presented for attacking paradox and unknowability from a different angle storytelling. This book is ample demonstration of Kip's lively imagination, his relentless drive to make science accessible to those of us not possessed of his massive intellect or his immense body of knowledge. He wants people to understand and get excited about the crazy truths of our universe. This book is structured to let the reader dip into a topic as deeply as their affinity for science prompts them. No one is left behind, and everyone gets to experience some of the fun I had trying to keep up with Kip's agile mind. So,
Sick.
yeah, this is
So
written.
good.
This is written
So
for
good.
people like you and me who are not
Yeah.
physicists like Lewis.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Physicists like Lewis who know a lot about science and a lot about AI like ChatGPT. So,
Yeah, and that's a whole other thing. But
yeah.
so
The only thing with this, with Nolan, we're obviously big Nolan fans, and we talked about Oppenheimer and the anticipation of that releasing in the summer. My only question is how that will hold up against a recently released films this year, say like Velma, for example, how it's going to compete with a film of that, a show, a piece of art to that quality, you know? So,
from what I've heard, it's just absolutely incredible. So if you haven't checked out Velma yet, definitely go do that on HBO Max, which doesn't usually do
I don't
kids
know.
shows.
Yeah. Is it a kid's show?
But wait, it's I have it here on IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, for all you don't know, and it is rated MA. So, yeah, and I do want to say the user rating score is 1.3 out of 10. So that's doing well. And
High quality.
so I'll just say this quick review by somebody gave it a 1 out of 10. This is Anthony, whatever, I won't dox him. I heard how bad this was. I heard how bad this was, so had to see for myself. I was expecting to be laughing at how atrocious it was, but it's not even bad enough to laugh at, like some terrible shows and movies. This was just so bad it was hard to believe what I was watching. My mouth was open in astonishment at how revolting it was. He goes on and on, but I'm going to leave it there. So in case you guys want to check it out, that's probably...
Crazy. Historical crazy scores right there.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the lowest IMDb score of all time. I think it tops the last one, which... The last one was an anime show or animated
So there
show?
was some other, there's been a bunch of them. I know Emoji Movie held it for a long time.
Oh, frick.
And then after that, it was
I know
some
what
other,
it was. I saw it, but
Yeah.
I can't remember the name.
I remember seeing it recently.
Titans. Was it like something like the Titans or something? I forget.
Something. Remember the Titan? No, I'm kidding.
That's an actual good movie.
Yeah, one of the highest rated films. But this was the lowest animated series or production. I don't even know what the metric was. The lowest animated score of all time. So, yeah. Apparently there's sex scenes and all kinds of stuff in there. So throw your
that's what
kids in
I'm-
front of the TV. Give them the iPad and let them get after it.
Yeah, when you go to work or you're working at home during the day, just toss them the iPad, tell them to throw in Velma. They'll learn a lot about life real quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I am actually curious because I do want to find out, like, I have no idea how they were marketing this or who they were targeting. I mean, I genuinely want to know because this is a Scooby-Doo spinoff, but Scooby-Doo's not even in it. So were they marketing to kids? Because Scooby-Doo is for kids, right? On Cartoon Network, right?
Yeah. I have no idea. I honestly didn't even hear about this until it were released and just tanked. So no idea what marketing budget went in, who they were targeting.
Did they even know who they were targeting?
I don't think so. Probably not.
But yeah, I'll just say this. This is on IMDb, guys. This is like the most trusted movie database of all time. I mean, it literally
Not Rotten
is.
Tomatoes.
Yeah,
Don't
not
get it
Rotten
twisted.
Tomatoes.
Not
Yeah.
those clowns at Rotten Tomatoes.
Not whatever. Yeah. So there's a parent's guide on here, which I always like to use because I'm a responsible parent of my children. And so this is by the way, this is the same rating system that's rating movies like The Wolf of Wall Street and some of the most intense R-rated films of all time. And Wolf of Wall Street, like language, what do you think it is? Severe, obviously. Sex and nudity, severe. This is the parent's guide here. for Velma, a TV series. Sex and nudity, severe. Violence and gore, severe. Profanity, severe. Alcohol, drugs, and smoking, severe. Frightening and intense scenes, severe. How can you... I don't even... How? I just want to know how. How is that possible?
Yeah. I'm almost curious at that point. It's like, how did you manage to do this with a animated, like, wholesome show?
Also, why? Why?
Yeah. Where was the demand? People are watching Scooby-Doo and they're like, you know what this could need? A sex scene. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy stuff. What a time. 2023. What a time.
Like, I don't know. That's all I got for Velma. That's all I got.
Yeah.
If you have seen it, please let me know. Let us know in the comments or something, because I am curious to hear, like, I don't know, like, parents, is this a kid's show? Is that how you saw it? I'm not sure. Did you, like, actually, I'm genuinely curious if there's parents who actually said, oh yeah, this must be a kid's show, probably didn't care to look at the rating because it's a cartoon, and just threw it on. Like, I have no idea how this was marketed. I really am curious. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy world we live in, I guess. So did you watch the CoffeeZilla apology yet? Or not his apology, but...
I did.
What'd you think?
I thought he made some good points. So,
nice.
Yeah. All right, cool. Moving on.
He made good points. That's all you need to know.
Yeah. I thought it was interesting because I think CoffeeZilla initially, he obviously made his 3-part series on Logan and all the NFT stuff and ZooCoin and that whole thing. And then he was like, I'm about to drop another video. He's like, I'm dropping a video today. This is probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. And then Logan had produced his weird apology the first time. He had done the podcast episode where he was like ripping on him. And then apparently he called him. He called CoffeeZilla and was like, hey, I'm going to apologize. I'm going to do all this stuff. Like, don't drop your video. So he paused his video. So CoffeeZilla tweeted, not dropping my video. Logan reached out. He's going to do an apology. He's going to film a bunch of stuff. He's going to do all kinds of things. So that delayed like a week and a half. I guess Logan dropped something on his, not his main channel, his like secondary channel, which I didn't even know existed. Right. He dropped it on his second channel. CoffeeZilla talks about that in his recent video. But Logan drops this weird apology thing in his second channel where he's like, thank you, CoffeeZilla, like, all this stuff. So he does this weird apology. So finally, CoffeeZilla's video came out, a week ago? And
7 days ago.
He basically breaks all that stuff down. So I thought it was good. I thought he basically like addressed that, hey, good for Logan for like doing this, but also like here's everything wrong with what he did.
Right.
And like not even his original stuff. Like here's everything wrong with like how he apologized, how he dealt with all the backlash. Because I guess he's in the Discord. They have like their own Discord for all of the.
Right.
What do you call that? What is it? Zoo something?
Crypto Zoo.
Yeah. And he like breaks all this stuff down. So you can go into that a little bit.
Yeah, so I guess this is, I watched the CoffeeZilla. It was only 13 minutes, and I think I got everything I needed. The one element that I do remember that stuck out to me that he did harp on a good bit was that some users of CryptoZoo, what Logan's doing is basically he's saying, hey, I'm going to fund, put $2 million into help, like, kind of paying people back who lost money here, which I don't think that's nearly enough. But here's the thing. He basically said, so there's people in the Discord who started saying, hey, I actually sold my NFTs like already. I sold them like in the process when you were saying this was going to be, super valuable and profitable. And they're like, well, we sold. Does that mean, are you going to also refund us? And he's like, no. He literally said, I'm not a financial scapegoat. And that, I think that just that alone, we can debate like the ethics of it, but that alone just shows you his attitude, I think, towards it. So I just want to say that explains it all. He truly is not sorry. He truly is just saving face for the public eye and praying to God he doesn't get sued.
I would say the one pushback I have to that, and when I watched it, I was thinking about this, is so he creates this coin, right? This NFT, and there's a coin with it, right? There's ZooCoin, which is like what funds you to play the game, right? That's like the vessel, and CoffeeZilla talks about that. It's the investment vehicle for you to like buy and sell things within the actual game. What's interesting is just like any other crypto, if you sell early, if it crashes, you sell, you lose money, and it rebounds. Everyone's like, they're called paper hands, right? Like if you sell when things are crashing, you're like a paper hands, and it's like you lose money and you freak out. So from that angle, it's like I understand the project kind of crashed, but also people who sell, like if you were to hold on to it, it's different, right? You can hold on to something and maybe it rebounds. People did that with Bitcoin. People do it with all the cryptos. It crashes, people hang on to it, they don't sell, it rebounds, comes back up. So I kind of see his point where he's like, it's not really my fault. Obviously, he's at fault because they kind of abandoned the project and he had all kinds of stuff and he kind of went dark on everybody. But at the same time, people are like, hey, I sold, I lost money. Like, where's my refund? I kind of understand where he's like, it's not really my fault that you sold.
Yeah.
You
Like I
know?
said, business ethics, I don't really have the answer there. I'm not saying it's unethical for him to say I don't owe you money because you sold, but ultimately I can't speak for that. But ultimately I can just say that's his attitude. Instead of like he could have said, he didn't have to say it that way. He could have said, "Hey guys, like I'm sorry that's what happened. But I actually legally I don't owe you." I don't know. I don't know what I'd say.
Yeah, he could have said it better than I'm not your financial scapegoat. Like
that's no need for the tongue in cheek or whatever. Like
yeah, I think pretty much everything, and he's kind of proven that this whole the last like 2 months, he's kind of proven like he had essentially 2 full videos. One was an actual video targeted. One was a podcast episode where he like ripped CoffeeZilla apart, got so much backlash from the public, walked it all back, deleted his video. Podcast episode's still up. And then was like, oh, thanks to CoffeeZilla for like exposing all of this and like, all it's like he's like pretty much proven that he's like only done this stuff because he's gotten caught and he's gotten backlash from somebody like exposing all his stuff. So like I have no doubt that him responding in his Discord that way, like that wasn't really surprising. Like that's not a shocking thing for him to do at this point based on his track record for the past like 90 days.
Yeah, 90 days, like 90 Day Fiance.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly what I thought of. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it really shows with everything he's doing now. I mean, I also want to point out one of his co-hosts on Impulsive, George Janko. I mean, yeah, he didn't leave the podcast and they're still friends. Yeah. But that was a whole other thing. If you don't know, guys, Logan basically bashed him for his religious views on Christianity. And really bad look. I mean, I don't need to speak to why that's an issue, but But yeah, so George Janko, I mean, he's now officially what it looks like is starting his own podcast. And he's made it clear, like, it's not trying to like bash Logan or get it back at him. He's just doing his thing, which is cool. He's just a good dude. I think he's a good dude. That's what I want to say.
And I think that's smart for him to do. It's like he's been disrespected on Impulsive constantly.
Yeah.
And then this one, like, and he's handled it so well because it's happened like a bunch of times. And then the most recent one, people like, he basically was like, all right, this is going to happen. He didn't like leave the podcast. He didn't quit the episode. He just kind of sat it and was like, not cool, but I'll stick around. And people just flamed Logan in the comments. That's where all this kind of started, was like this in conjunction with the NFT stuff, in conjunction with the dead pig and all that. I guess not dead pig.
It didn't die. If we'll be fair to Logan, he didn't kill the pig.
Yeah, he didn't kill it. It's still alive, all right?
Just left it abandoned, that's all.
Yeah. So all that kind of started it. But yeah, props to George. I think he's also capitalizing on his stock value right now because everybody watching the podcast is like, Logan's a clown, Mike's kind of annoying, George is the man. And so George is like, all right, capitalize on it, start his own thing. I think he can hold his own on a podcast solo. So
I agree. What I always notice after, I think what I've been watching, I mean, me and you've been watching Impulsive for like 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Like since it started, really. I mean, I wouldn't listen to every episode, but just kind of the guests they'd have on. They had great guests on. and I'm sure I don't know that they still will. We'll see what happens. But I always, I mean, George was not there from the start of Impulsive. They had what's his name who went to Hawaii, Yoga
Yep.
Man,
Uh, yeah. What was the original? What was his
hippie
name?
dude,
Spencer.
yeah, Spencer.
Spencer.
Yeah.
They had
Yeah.
Spencer on. He was never really a good fit.
Yeah, I don't
They
even
had-
remember anything he said really. No offense to Spencer. but-
Yeah. Then they had Mac on, which was like Logan's longtime childhood friend.
Oh, I don't even remember that. I
Dude with
think
a big beard. He was on for
Oh, right.
probably a few months, and he was decent. George is easily the best one, the best cast member that's joined since then, and I would argue that George and Mike carry the show more than Logan does at this point.
Well, yeah, it got to a certain point where Logan just stopped caring. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, Prime started blowing up. His wrestling's got big. I mean,
Yeah.
Jake was doing big things in that arena and whatever, and then he just kind of checked out.
Yeah.
And like, here's the thing, like, dude, if you're gonna check out, like, that's cool. I get it. Like, passions change, and I'm not saying he doesn't want to do his podcast, but like, he did the whole the Polaroid project. What was it called? 99 originals.
originals. Yeah.
Honestly, like, and he was truly passionate about that. I'll give him this. Like, that was an actually well done video.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I loved that.
Super cool. Yeah.
Incredible. And that was truly what he was passionate about. And then he's doing things like Crypto Zoo, and that was not his passion really. He just wanted to. I don't think it was because anyway. But my point is, he's not being fair to his own audience by kind of checking out. If you look on him a lot of these episodes, he's just kind of like there, and he'll say his piece, but like, he's not really conversing much. He like listens but doesn't respond, and basically just wants to talk about himself. That's what I noticed. And but from the start, it was what I want to say is when George first showed up, I just feel like he would talk, but he would constantly get interrupted. And I always felt like he had something. Like, I was like, no, please, I want to finish the thought. I want to hear it. But Mike and Logan would just be like, and then.
And what was cool is, and like, George evolved very quickly. Like, he started out, and people were like, this guy tries too hard. He's kind of weird, or he's kind of forcing it. He's forcing his jokes a little too much, which is fine. Like, anyone's gonna do that when you come in and interrupt an established thing. But what George would do, and what actually has proven to work well for him, is he would always ask the guests really like dumb questions, so to speak. And Mike and Logan would go and like, mostly Mike, would research so much about the guests, and he'd come in and be like, I know that you've got this going on, and back in the day you did this and this and this and this. And he'd have all this like really in-depth knowledge of the guests. And George would be like, I didn't research any of them. You want to talk, like, Wiz Khalifa comes on and he's like, when did you start smoking weed? It's like just really dumb questions where it's like he knows nothing about them. And he like did it, but it's actually a strong suit, because if I'm watching it as a viewer and some random guest comes on, if I'm liberal and Ben Shapiro comes on, Ben Shapiro was on way earlier, like way back in the day.
That was before George.
Before George, it's like, I'm going to be like, I have no idea who this guy is. And George is asking the questions that I'm like, yeah, good question. That's my question too. And the audience like resonates with that, right? He's like a relatable guy. So
yeah, exactly. I mean, that's called real conversation. Like, the whole idea of a podcast is not supposed to be scripted. I get it. If you're like the one host, you sure, you should probably be fair to your guests, like at least know something about them before they came on. But I don't think you'd be asking them to come on if you didn't know anything about them. But yeah, George offered that kind of just average person perspective, the objective standpoint, basically, and it's beautiful. I'm looking forward to. I'm at least looking forward to seeing what George does with his podcast. I mean, I think he's an extremely deep thinker. I just don't believe he's ever had the chance to truly just speak without being interrupted. And that's that reminds me, the back do you actually subscribe to Love Live Serve?
I don't.
Okay, you know who they are?
I know who they are.
Yeah, so I actually can say I've been kind of a fan from the start with them. And I subscribed to them back in college in like 2017, and they did their parody sketch on the Impulsive.
Yes,
and
I did see that. Yeah,
that's like, it was so accurate.
Yeah.
Like, well done.
That's at the time then too, like when they did it, was the peak of when Mike was like still trying to prove himself. And you can there's a shift actually. You can tell like then he was so eager to like talk about himself and like his whole star like aficionado whatever his vibe was at the time. And now you can tell he's like established. He's like a household name almost, right? And you
Mike
can tell if
Malek?
you yeah, you
Yeah.
watch his videos now, there's a big difference in like the way he carries himself now versus when he was like, maybe 2 years ago in Impulsive when that video came out, where they were like the impersonation of him was like spot on, where he just like tried to keep switching the conversation back to himself, and it's like that's exactly what he was doing. So
That was my boy
yeah,
Rhino
yeah,
doing the impersonation. But yeah, I think it had to do a little bit for Mike. I think it had to do with he got his book published finally that he was been working on for so long.
right,
He was finally like putting content out there
yeah,
that really just told his story, and I think that allowed him maybe to kind of relax a little bit on the
yeah. It
podcast.
totally did because
Um,
he has good insight. Like people rip on him and stuff on the podcast, but I'm like, dude, if he wasn't on the podcast, like it'd be pretty dead,
True.
Like he does talk a lot, but he also asks like really good questions and he has good insight to stuff. Now, I would say early on maybe that wasn't the case. Now for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a respectable dude on that podcast. I mean, and I did appreciate him stepping in there and kind of being the mediator there between Logan
Yeah.
and George when they're having that whole conflict over
Yeah.
Christianity and all of that. And I did appreciate him stepping in and be like, yo, Logan, like, you can't do that, man.
Yeah,
Like,
which is
what are you
interesting
doing?
because when George first started, so the history behind that the dynamics too. So I used to follow Logan way back in the day, like
Yeah.
right after we graduated
Vine.
college. Yeah, no, not even Vine, but when he left Vine and he started YouTube, when Vine
No,
was shutting down.
I know. I think we all probably subscribed to him from Vine, but then yeah, he
Yeah,
did come to YouTube, and you did subscribe to him like right away. I remember that.
yeah. So I remember I started watching him end of college, and he had just switched over when daily vlogging was like a huge thing, right? Casey Neistat was blowing up the whole space with that. Logan switched over, and he was one of the best vloggers at the
Yeah.
time. This was like
Oh yeah.
late 2016, and at the time when he started vlogging, his one of his neighbors in his building was George. So he's known George for years. And so George was in his content all the way back when he had like 100K subscribers on YouTube. And so they've been friends forever. And then Mike came in like way later in the picture. But what's interesting is like now the dynamic when George started the podcast, it was like Mike and Logan were friends and George was like the newcomer. And now it's almost to the point where it's like George and Mike are friends and Logan's kind of the odd one out because he's not really contributing. And
Mm.
like Mike and George are like Mike used to rip on George early on. People like comments used to tear him apart for that. They're like, "We like George. Why you keep ripping on him?" And now like Mike and George are super close. And then Logan's kind of the one that's just not really adding anything and he's kind of like disrupting and causing problems. So,
That's interesting. Yeah, I obviously knew they were all friends before they started the podcast, but I didn't realize, I guess, that. So Mike and Logan knew each other before George, right?
no, other way around.
Oh, George knew
George
Logan before Mike.
George and Logan they met each other right when they both moved to LA. Mike didn't come into the picture until like probably 2 or 3 years after,
Oh, okay.
which is interesting. It's like interesting how that dynamic works. But if you go back and watch like Logan's early content, George is in there like all the time.
Wow. Uh,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people also say, did Mike use Logan's fame, like just kind of exploit his fame, or what's the word?
100%. Yeah, like take
Yeah,
advantage. Take
take advantage
advantage.
of it. And I mean, but like, yeah, I mean, at the same time, I'm not gonna say that he wasn't genuinely a friend at that same time. But
No.
yeah, I mean, if you had a bunch of clout,
Right.
I mean, I would obviously I'd take advantage of you.
Yeah, 100%.
um,
Yeah, 100%. But and like Mike will admit that, but at the time, what makes it interesting was Mike was a brand no, not a brand ambassador. He was an account exec at the giant beanbag company.
wait, what?
Lovesack. Lovesack. So
Oh,
Mike was a account exec at Lovesack and he was doing brand deals with all these influencers. That's how he met Logan. And so right when the Suicide Forest stuff started, when all that happened with Logan, whenever that was, Mike had known him from the brand deals, and Mike has like a fairly level head. So when all that happened, he was like, "Yo, let me like help you out. Like I can probably help you be like a mentor, help you get out of this rut, all this stuff." That's how they became friends, and that's how they started working together. So it was like
Right.
he saw Logan had a big following, but at the same time, he pretty much like helped Logan come out of the suicide forest all the way back to where he was. That was all
Mm.
like Mike, and like a
I do,
huge
yeah,
part
I
of it
did
was
that.
Mike. So he's done like, yes, he did get famous because of Logan, but he had like a really big pull that most people don't really know.
He had a deep connection, like a genuine deep connection with Logan. Like
Yeah.
I think I know from where Mike's coming from and like reasoning for wanting to like see somebody in a place like that and be like and relate with them and to pull them out of it. Because I mean, Mike is coming off of, I mean, at that point he was sober at that point, but he's coming off,
Yeah.
years of addiction to heroin and
Yep.
whatever else. So I kind of get that from my own experience, wanting to pull somebody out of a situation like that, kind of relating to them and kind of almost like feeling like it's your duty in a way to kind of give back for
Yeah.
the people who gave to you, basically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
For sure. For sure.
ha. Um,
Aha.
all you Joe Goldberg creeps out there, get ready for season 4 of You. Not me.
Wait, what
You.
show?
You.
Wait, me?
No, like the show is called You.
Wait, it's called Me?
No, like the show is actually called You.
Oh,
Like
it's called
like
You.
like you.
Like you, like me. No, but you.
Like you're the kind of guy that would be a Joe Goldberg.
Yeah. You season 4. That's a great show. That's one of the
Yeah.
better shows. That is one of the better shows that Netflix has produced, I think, in the last 3-ish years, I would say.
What do you
Like,
think makes it so compelling to people?
it's realistic. It's realistic. I think that's the thing. Like, there's obviously some far-fetched parts of it, right? He throws a baseball cap on, he becomes invisible. It's like, yeah, that's not really true.
Yeah.
But I think season 1, I think it's also how they started it, right? Like, it's all about momentum. Season 1 it was framed as if he was this like really caring guy, right? And like the whole part of season 1, it took until like I think the last 2 or 3 episodes before you realize he's like a psychopath, you know? And so I
Right.
think like all the monologue leading up to it, people are like, yeah, this is a good guy. He's just like being dealt a bad hand, right? And this girl's like cheating on him or whatever, or he can't seem to line things up. So I think it's more of like people relate to him, and
Yeah.
then it turns, and then it's like, oh wow, this is really realistic,
No, yeah,
like to
they
some
they relate
extent.
to it because I hate, I mean, I don't know, maybe not everybody. I'm not saying I've even thought this, but I guess like the transition from normal dude who literally is just like having the hardest time ever, basically just you see the evolution, the evolvement of him turning into like, all right, I'm going to go this route of just
Yeah,
crazy
he's a
control.
guy that's like into a girl, and he thinks she's got a lot like of stuff that aligns with what he's looking for, and then all of a sudden he's locking somebody in a clear box in a basement, and like,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, we get it
So
because we've always wanted to do that to girls.
that's right. It's like every time I always do that. I'm like, I want to lock somebody in a clear box.
Dude, I'm ordering a freaking glass box from Amazon probably.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
That's what I'll be doing
So
when
we,
I yeah.
season 4, I think they've evolved the show really well. I think season 2 was really good. I think season 3 brought like an even gorier, like crazier level to it. So
Oh
season
yeah, it
4, I
did.
think picks up. They ended season 3. Spoiler alert. They ended season 3, I think, moving to Paris,
Yeah, I think you're right.
England.
Paris, I
It
think.
was either
Let me
London or Paris, something like that. And so I think it's gonna pick up like right back there. And it's gonna get. I feel like it's gonna get crazy from like episode 1. I think they got people locked in.
Yeah, remind me what happened. They had that kid in the last one. What happened? And obviously Love died, but like what
So they
happened to
had
the
the
kid?
kid. Yep, there was all the stuff with Love going off the rails. She died, and then I don't remember exactly what happened at the end. She died almost at the very last episode,
Yeah.
and then he managed to conceal it. I forget. I need to go watch the end of 3.
Yeah, I do
But
too.
I remember the very last episode, he had moved and he was like, it picked up with like a really short monologue of him in Paris or London, wherever it resumed. And it was like him, like, I'm starting fresh, I'm starting over, which is exactly how 1 to
Everything.
2 happened.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'll be really interesting.
Yeah, so there's that. And then Outer Banks season 3
Yep.
and
End of February.
okay, yeah, February 23rd or something. I
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting. Outer Banks is a show that I started watching probably back in 2021 this summer because everybody
Yeah.
kept on saying, "Oh, it's like so good," but at the same time, it's like kind of not. But anyway, that's kind of what I was thinking. I was like, "There's no way this show's good." And I started watching the first few episodes. I'm like, "Yeah, this is trash. It's so
Yeah.
cheesy. The acting is just like subpar. The
Yeah.
storytelling is just kind of like eh." And or maybe I don't know. That was my take on it at first. But then I started
Yeah.
like, I was like, "Why do I like this though? I
Yeah.
really like this."
I think that was everybody's perspective. Well, I think a huge reason was it dropped in 2020. So I remember, because I remember exactly, COVID had hit.
Yeah.
It was like the summer of 2020. Nothing's going on. Obviously, people are just hanging out
People
at
are
home
just
trying to figure out what's
binging.
going on. And I remember it dropped, and it like obviously jumped to the top of Netflix charts, and everyone had that exact same perspective. I remember I watched like 1 or 2 episodes. I'm like, the CG is trash in this, like
Mhm.
the boat scenes and stuff. I'm like, it's kind of bad. Acting's not great. It's a bunch of young people, but I'm like, why do I want to keep watching this show?
Okay, so you had the same experience.
100%. And then I ripped through season 1 in like a week. I just like blasted through it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
show's not that good, but it's pretty good. Like it's
Yeah.
like, you know. So I don't know what it was. Maybe they're all just attractive actors. Maybe that's why it sucked everybody in.
I
But
mean, Chase Stokes is a yeah, he's
Chase
out, dude.
Stokes and Madeline Klein and whoever plays JJ
True.
and Key and like all of them are like good looking people, you know. And I think maybe that's what drew people in. But I think it was whatever they did right. And now I think also because that was during COVID, it has like this weird nostalgic tie for everybody where they're like, I remember watching
Yeah.
that show. It was during COVID, you know, it's like
That's
this
true.
big life event. So season
As
3 will be interesting.
Yeah, as bad, as bad as of the bad things were that happened during the pandemic, I think everybody who can appreciate, not even not everybody, but it was fun, kind of staying in your house and
Yeah,
just chilling. Like, and so
totally.
I think there's a lot of what's the word? Nostalgia to that.
Yeah.
That they can just keep making this show because it's like, yeah, that was a good
Yeah.
time.
I'm really curious to see because I think Chase and Madeline broke up in real
Yeah.
life because they dated for a bit. And I think they broke up either before or right after season 3 filming. If it was before, I'm curious
Oh, I have no
how
idea.
on-screen chemistry plays out because it could affect it. I mean, they're actors, they can probably turn it back on, but I'm just curious how that will shake out.
That is interesting, actually. So you mean the last season was they were together, like in
Yeah.
real life? Okay,
Yeah.
so that is interesting. Yeah, I as a professional actor, not talking about me, I would think that they'd be
As a,
able.
as a professional myself, I'm something of a professional actor myself.
Yeah, I would hope they'd be able to, turn that on and off or whatever they
Yeah.
need to do. I didn't realize Chase Stokes was in Stranger Things.
I don't watch Stranger Things, so I don't know.
Oh, I'm just looking at his filmography and on IMDb, and he was known for Stranger Things 2016. He played Reed. That's
Is
interesting.
that the first season?
Yeah, probably. I think, yeah, it was the first season. So
That
anybody who
sounds right.
knows who Reed was, let us know in the
Yeah,
comments.
drop a
I guess.
Yeah, we got no clue.
Yeah, no clue. So, yeah, you know Nightly, right? The band.
Yep.
Yeah, crazy. I was just like, I've always listened to them since like 2017 when EXO came out. And for anybody who doesn't know Nightly, they're alternative pop, I guess I'd call it. Sad boy music, as some might say.
No, not quite. They're definitely not sad boy.
Dude, every single one of their songs is like a breakup song or whatever.
All right. All right.
But like Lainey, some people say like Lainey's sad boy music.
Absolutely they are. Yeah.
I think it's a stupid whatever. I think it's stupid. Anyway,
Yeah.
because I'm a sad boy myself, I guess.
That's right.
Um,
Same.
but yeah, Nightly, I just is like listening to them more and more in the last few weeks, and like more of their songs I hadn't heard, and I reached the level of fandom where I just like became obsessed, which happens
Yeah.
every once in a while with a band.
Yep.
And anyway, crazy. This must be something to do with Interstellar and all of the crazy things in the universe. But I walked into my office yesterday, and they were literally playing Nightly, and they never played that before, so that was a little weird to me. They've also, a lot of times I'm driving to work and I'm listening to the 1975, like It's Not Living If It's Not With You, and I walk in and that's playing. So there's something going on at the office that I am going to figure out.
It must
I
be your
think-
star sign.
Yeah, exactly. Or there's
Yeah.
probably like a wormhole in the bathroom or something. I
That's
don't know.
right. That's right. Rather, it's interesting too. I feel like we both have this where we get in these phases of music, right? Where we like become super tied with a band for a bit. We both had Laney for a bit, Band Camino, obviously. You hit the Nightly train. I don't know if that's one of their songs. I feel like they say that, but you hit the Nightly like vibe where you were like constantly listening to them. I hit the Fly by Midnight vibe.
Wait, you mean like recently?
Recently.
Yeah, okay.
So we've listened.
We've
to
always
for a
listened to
while.
them, but like not like deep. Yeah.
You've started listening to him a bunch recently. I started listening to Fly by Midnight a bunch recently.
That's
to where, yeah. So it's like we both kind of took one of them and kind of said, and they're very similar genres. Like they have a
They have
similar
the same
sound.
word in their name.
Yeah. Right. It's both something dark and mysterious. Yeah.
That's
But-
cool. Dang.
Yeah. But it's like their EP, so their Silver Crane EP, or not even EP, it's an album. Silver Crane album, like the amount that I'm listening to them now is likely going to put them on my Wrapped 23.
Yes,
Even
exactly.
though yeah.
That's
And
what I
like
was
I can already foresee it where I'm like, oh, I'm crushing their music right now. I guarantee you this is going to linger.
Oh yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah. There's songs that came up like on my rap this year. I was like, wait, I haven't heard that in forever, but I listened a frick ton to it at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
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 So that's cool. I
Yeah.
freaking I love them, and now I'm like I checked to see their tour dates, and they just got off tour like this last year.
Yeah.
And they were
It's
like
always how it goes.
Yeah, but actually, it's not always because I did this year to get to see the Band Camino, Laney, and the 1975, like
Yeah.
the Trinity.
I saw 2 of the 3. I didn't see the 1975, but I saw the other 2. So
Wait, oh yeah, you did too. Yeah, we saw the same show.
they both came to Mission Ballroom in Denver. So
Oh, okay.
good stuff. And this year we're gonna see the GOAT Hans Zimmer in Europe.
That's
So
right.
We're really just covering all the artists here.
The Oscars 2023.
So what else? Was
So
in
we
there?
got the nominees for actors in a leading role are Austin Butler for Elvis, which honestly, I know you didn't see it. It's really long, but I could see that winning.
Yeah.
Also Colin Farrell for the Banshees of Inisherin. I don't know. That might win because it's the. I mean, you have to think about this is the Academy voting, so this isn't even like
Right.
us. Like the common person who saw these movies is not giving a vote. I don't really know how it works,
Yeah.
but yeah. So yeah, maybe I don't know who it'll go to. I think the Academy's all screwed up anyway. But then Brendan Fraser for The Whale. Big comeback for Brendan Fraser this year.
Yep.
Obviously the star of the Mummy series back in late 1990s, early
Way
2000s, I
back.
think. Back when The Rock
Yeah.
was a video game figure, practically. So he's back with an A24 film called The Whale. And A24, I think they're one of my favorite studios that makes movies because
Yep.
they always do something very artistic and not what you would expect. It's always something out of the ordinary, like Everything Everywhere All at Once, Midsummer, a bunch of movies that are just crazy. And I love that they always. This is actually pretty cool. I follow some guys on Instagram. You remember? I can make this connection. You remember those dudes who would like do crazy pranks, like basically like they take the Australian dudes or whatever. I'm
Yes.
forgetting their names. Anyway, one of their two of their friends who are like twins, brothers. I've been following them for a while, and I've seen their come up literally from the bottom, and they were just given. I think they just received an award at the Sundance Festival, or whatever. For I think they're either they did an A24 movie or they're about to, but like A24 I think just signed them for a film, and I literally saw these guys when they were nobody on Instagram, and now they
Yeah.
just got signed with A24, which is
It's
this is what I'm
crazy.
saying about A24.
Yeah.
They intentionally go to people. They don't go for the big popular writers, producers. They intentionally go to like the nobodies who just have a really cool story or whatever, and I think that's why they do
Yeah.
so well.
100%. Catch them at the bottom and let them ride up, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I love that. So shout out
Yeah.
to A24 for what they're doing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, so I'm not gonna get into all these nominations, but who cares?
Yeah.
One thing about music, John Williams, you know John Williams?
Yep. Of course.
Okay, thank God. The one and only, the man who created basically what soundtracks are today. John Williams he's older now, but he's done Star Wars, Indiana Jones,
Yep.
every classic you can think of. He basically did that. Anyway, Steven Spielberg, who has worked with John Williams for the decades in the past over tons of incredible movies. Steven Spielberg just said they're starting work on a documentary of John Williams' life. So,
oh, wow.
let's
That would
go.
be cool. Yeah.
I've been waiting for that for years. I was like, someone needs
Yeah.
to document this man's life. He is a legend.
Yeah.
So anyway,
That's cool. It'll be that, and whenever they do the one on Hans,
yeah.
it'll be
Hans is still too young though.
I know he is. It'll be years before that happens.
He's like, you could literally say he's in his prime right now. Honestly, like for his career,
I would agree.
it only gets
would
better.
agree.
I feel like.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Cool.
did you have anything else you wanted to wrap up about or anything?
No. I think we're good. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Town Crier. Again, posting weekly, so keep up to date with our schedule, and we'll be dropping these every Thursday.
We don't have well, not Thursday. We're recording on Thursday, but
we're recording a Thursday.
we'll see. I'll try to get it consistent where I can edit it and release it at the exact same time. every
Dropping
week.
new episodes every week. All right.
There we go. And if by the way, anybody, if you if you would like to be a guest, you can feel free to DM us on Instagram. We're definitely always looking for inquiries. We have a few, hopefully here in the works, that we will be having on soon. But
we have a scientist, an expert in the field of science coming on that will be discussing science and ChatGPT and the emergence of AI. So we have a really exciting episode coming up.
that's some big stuff, dude. I'm
that.
looking forward to hearing what he has to
It
say.
is. I am too. It'll be exciting stuff. So
We're not saying his name yet, but stay tuned. Yeah, this guy is the expert in his field on all of this, and I'm so excited to get him on. So, anyway, thank you guys. Looking forward to you seeing us next week, and keep up with us on Instagram, and we'll interact with you as best we can. So, anyway,
all right. See y'all next time.
peace.
Peace.